Thanks everybody for coming along this evening, and welcome to what will be the Labour Party election headquarters when the election is eventually called. What we have seen today, I think, is another stage in the disintegration of a dysfunctional government that has to be brought to an end as quickly as possible. All over the country, people have problems. People who have lost jobs, businesses in trouble, people who are worried about the future of their children. We have an economic crisis. On top of that, we've had a number of weeks of political chaos and uncertainty. We are now in circumstances where we have a government that no longer commands the support of a majority of the members of Dáil Éireann, that certainly doesn't command the support of a majority of the people of this country, that is now reduced to less than half the original number of cabinet ministers that were appointed to it, and that is led by a Taoiseach that no longer has the confidence and support of his own party. This is giving rise, and has given rise, to political uncertainty and political instability, and it has to be brought to an end. The Labour Party has been absolutely clear from the very beginning about the necessity to bring this government to an end and to put in place a new government that will begin the process of recovery for this country. For that reason, we made it clear before Christmas that we would accept a period of 2 to 3 weeks within which that government could bring through the finance bill consequential on the budgets that it introduced in December. We made it clear that if the government did not comply with that timetable and did not comply with the commitment that was given both by the leader of the Green Party and indeed by the Taoiseach on the day the leader of the Green Party said it, that an election would be called before the end of January, that we would put the issue to the test in the Dáil by moving a motion of no confidence in the government. When it became clear to us after Christmas that there was a game underway by Fianna Fáil to prolong from week to week and from month to month the life of the government, not in the interests of the country, but in the hope that something somewhere would turn up to save Fianna Fáil's skins, we tabled a motion of no confidence in the government. That motion is due to be debated in the Dáil on Tuesday and Wednesday of this coming week. The Labour Party intends to put that motion to the test in the Dáil. As I indicated this morning, if tomorrow or by tomorrow we get a request from the government to the effect that they want us to defer the taking of that motion on Tuesday and Wednesday, and that it is their intention to complete the finance bill by the end of the week, then we are prepared to agree to that timetable on the basis that the Dáil will be dissolved not later than the end of this week and a general election called so that the people of the country can make their decision about who should be leading this country. The political issue that faces this country at this moment is not who leads Fianna Fáil. The political issue that faces this country at this moment is leadership for our country in order that we can bring about recovery, get people back to work, and bring about the changes in politics and in public administration that people crave. Question to Joe.
Yeah, Mr. Gilmore, both the Taoiseach and the Minister for Finance have said that it will be impossible to get the finance bill completed by this Friday. If that is the case, are you willing to let this slip a little bit further into next week, or what is the stand your party is going to take on that issue?
No, I'm not willing to let it, the Labour Party is not willing to let this slip any further. First of all, we do not believe that it is impossible to have the finance bill dealt with by the end of the week. Other legislation has been dealt with in the past. Our estimate is that it is possible to have in the order of something like 40 hours debating time in the Dáil if other Dáil business is cleared, which we're willing to do. If the Dáil sits on Friday to deal with it, we could have in the order of 40 hours Dáil debating time to deal with the finance bill. So it is possible to do it. Secondly, other major legislation has been dealt with in relatively short period of time. Thirdly, a lot of the finance bill are measures that were already contained in the budget and were the subject of financial resolutions which have already been voted upon by the Dáil. In any event, this is a decision that what is now a minority government will have to make. If they come back to us and say, look, we want a timetable, and that's what we're talking about. Let me make it clear, this is a finance bill which the Labour Party does not support. But if they say they want a timetable in order to complete it, and to complete the undertaking that they gave prior to Christmas, we will not be unreasonable about that, but we're not going to let it drag out. And we're not going to let it drag out because this has to come to an end. We cannot continue what is happening at the moment. We cannot continue the political uncertainty which is compounding our economic difficulties, which is doing damage to the country internationally, and which is dampening down public confidence.
So when your finance spokesperson meets with the Minister for Finance tomorrow, is there that little bit of leverage that you might let it go beyond this Friday deadline?
We have made it clear that Friday is our deadline. Our motion, the motion of no confidence in the government, is tabled for Tuesday and Wednesday. We intend to proceed with that motion of no confidence unless the government comes to us and asks us to defer that. And I'm making it clear that the basis on which we would defer that is that the finance bill is brought to a conclusion, that the timetable ends on Friday, that the Dáil is dissolved by the end of the week, and that we hold a general election.
What would it matter an extra couple of days, say till next Wednesday, just for the sake of maybe 3 days, would you give in on just a couple of days like that, if they say Wednesday?
Look, this country can't afford any more delay. We can't afford to have Fianna Fáil running this country for any longer than is necessary. Frankly, I would like if the Taoiseach went and dissolved or sought a dissolution of the Dáil today. But they have said to us that they want this timetable for the finance bill. We're being reasonable about that. We have tabled the motion of no confidence. That, I suppose, has brought matters to a head. Parties in the Dáil, individual TDs, independent TDs and so on, have a decision to make on that. The purpose of tabling that motion of no confidence was to put an end to a dysfunctional government and to enable the people to elect a new government in which the people will have confidence. Now, we're determined that that's going to happen. If the government comes back to us and says, OK, finance bill for all of the reasons that we all understand, and the constitutional obligations and the full year obligations and international obligations and so on, that they want to have that completed, provided they do it by the end of the week, provided there is no dragging out of it, provided there is no coming to us and say, well, give us another couple of days for this or another couple of days for that. The reasons that the couple of days come into it is that I suspect that this has more to do with arrangements for Fianna Fáil's recovery than it does with the recovery of the country. We have to bring this to finality. We have to bring it to a head. The Labour Party's motion of no confidence was designed to do that. We will put it on Tuesday and Wednesday, and we will put it to the test. If they come and say, look, we want until Friday to complete the finance bill, we'll agree to that. But if they come back and say, well, OK, can you give us Friday, and can you give us another day, and can you give us another couple of days? Sorry, we're not doing that.
I mean, why support it? Why bend over backwards for a bill and a government that you don't support? Why not call for the dissolution of the government tonight? Why are you moving back on that?
Well, we're not bending over backwards. I mean, that is why we tabled the motion of no confidence. When we tabled the motion of no confidence, there were people who said it was ill-timed and ill-judged. The motion of no confidence in this government couldn't be better judged. And I think people will view the timing of it in an entirely different light now. We want to bring this government to an end. It is our intention to put it on Tuesday and Wednesday. We have been consistent, and we said before Christmas, in line with what Minister Gormley, or then Minister Gormley, said, that they wanted to put the finance bill through by the end of January, that we would allow the timetable for that to be debated.
But doesn't it suit your aims to have the dying embers of this government put all this nasty stuff through, so that the new government, of which you may form part, will be able to say, well, that was the previous regime that did that?
No.
So it's politicking again.
No, it is not. It is not. We have been absolutely consistent here. We've been absolutely in line with what we have said from the beginning. We want this government, we want an end to this government. To that end, we have tabled the motion of no confidence. When we tabled the motion of no confidence, we had few enough people who said the Labour Party is right to table that motion of no confidence, just as we had few enough people to say we were right in opposing the bank bailout in September of 2008. We've been absolutely consistent on this, that we want this government out of office. The only thing that we're agreeing to is the timetable for the finance bill, but let it be absolutely clear that we do not support the government finance bill.
I mean, you accused Fianna Fáil of using the finance bill to play political games to extend the date of the election. Are you not essentially doing the same thing by playing games with this very important piece of legislation to ensure the election is held earlier at a time that suits the Labour Party?
No, this country wants a fresh start. I mean, I think we've got to understand what's happening here. You know, there are people who are desperate in this country. People who have lost jobs, people who don't have the income to keep going from one week to another, people who've lost businesses and in many cases don't qualify for social welfare payments, people who are seeing their children emigrate again, and they want to make, they want change, and they want a fresh start, and that can only come about with the election of a new government. Bear in mind where we were a week or 2 weeks ago. We were in circumstances that the election that the Greens promised would be called by the end of January had stretched out, it was going to be called by the end of March. Then it stretched into April. Once we got to April, I have no doubt it would be Easter, and it would be after Easter, and it would be something else. And you had Fianna Fáil finding every basis under the sun to try and prolong the life of the government. It wasn't just the finance bill, it was then the climate change bill, and it was Lord Mayor of Dublin bill, and would we like a referendum on this or would we like a referendum on that? Any excuse under the sun to keep it going. The Labour Party has been absolutely clear that we were not going to go along with that, that we were going to put this to a head. We have done so. If they want to get the finance bill, which is a consequence of the budget, if they want to get that through, we will agree to have it completed, a timetable to have that completed by the end of the week. And it really is a matter for the government to ask us to agree to that. If they do, obviously we're open to that. If not, we go ahead with our no confidence motion on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Eamon, given the likelihood that your no confidence motion that you're tabling for Tuesday or Wednesday pending the government's application, given that would likely now bring down the government anyway, given the Greens' withdrawal this afternoon, is there not some degree of hypocrisy that you're going to allow the government to pass its own bill, even against your wishes, and a bill that you'll be voting against before the end of the week, when your motion could trigger an even quicker dissolution of the Dáil?
No, we have been absolutely consistent on this. What I'm saying now is absolutely consistent with what we said prior to Christmas, that we would allow a 2 to 3 week period. If the government wanted its finance bill to be enacted, we will allow a 2 to 3 week period of a timetable for that. But that we were not going to allow for an extension of the life of the Dáil, or the life of this government, beyond that. It is the motion that we tabled that has brought this matter to a head. They have a choice. If they want our cooperation to have the finance bill dealt with by the end of the week, we'll be reasonable about that. If not, and it's their choice, it's their call, If not, then we'll proceed with the motion of no confidence on Tuesday and Wednesday.
So can I just ask you, just in a nutshell, your mandate to your finance spokesperson to go to that meeting tomorrow, what is the mandate she has?
Well, we have to hear what the request from the government is. We haven't had any request from the government. I understand there's been some contact between whips this evening about having a meeting. It's a matter for the government to request that we defer the no confidence motion, and I'm making it clear that the only basis on which we will agree to that deferral is on the basis that this farce is brought to an end by the end of this week.
Okay.
Thank you.